It's Dave Johan once again for Punch Out Boxing. Pleased to be joined by Master Knowledge, Spencer Fearon. How are you on this hot sunny day?
Yeah, it's a hot sunny day. I mean, but it's a blessing. I'm glad that it is a hot sunny day in the UK.
Yeah, it's boiling. I mean, boxing is absolutely booming. A hot place is Riyadh. That's where the Canelo versus Crawford Spencer is going to be taking place today. The press is taking place. But what do you make of that fight? Are you looking forward to that fight when it's actually going down in September?
100% I am. I think it's an excellent fight. Um, and it's like I said, boxing is in a nice place now because we're actually getting to see fights across the board that we'd like to see and we see them now. And I think Canelo Crawford is something that's been spoken about for a hot minute. And for it now to we're seeing it coming to its fruition, that's a really good thing. And all the credit in the world should be given to Turkey Al Sheikh for putting that together.
Spencer, what do you reckon of the weight difference as well? Because it's two weight differences up, isn't it, for Crawford? Do you think that'll make a difference, or do you think Canelo's just going to do what he normally does? Is this a good test for Canelo?
Um, I always like to allude to what the former undisputed champion Lloyd Hannigan, who famously beat Donald Curry in 1986, September 27th. And Lloyd Hannigan always used to say to me, Spencer, it's never whether you are big enough, it is always whether you are good enough. And on something like this, that I believe that Terence Crawford is really, really and truly good enough to go in there with Canelo.
I mean, Roy Jones Jr. said exactly the same thing as well. When my colleague spoke to Roy Jones Jr. a few weeks ago, he was actually saying exactly the same thing as well, saying that if Crawford has an off night, that's the only thing that's going to be his downfall. But he's also backing Crawford to do the business against Canelo as well.
Um, I was very fortunate to. I know Roy very well. I spent a lot of time with Roy when we did the tour with him and Artur Beterbiev in December. And if you if you look at where Roy Jones is looking at it, he's not looking at it as a strength factor. He's looking at it as a factor. And is Terence Crawford skilled enough to go in there with the likes of Canelo? And we'd have to say, he's technically good enough to go in the ring with Canelo. And, Mexican fighters in general, Mexican fighters find it difficult to handle speed. And even though Terence Crawford isn't a out and out speedy fighter, he's very fast and he's very well trained. And I think it is the right place, right time for someone like a Terence Crawford to go in there with a Canelo and come out victorious as well.
I mean, it's going to be an absolute fascinating fight in September in Las Vegas. Um, just moving on to the heavyweight scene as well. Look, this year we've seen some massive fights already, but another massive fight that's going to be happening is Daniel Dubois versus Usyk for the second time. I'm looking forward to that one as well, as is the world. But just before we touch upon that one, though, in regards to the heavyweight landscape in particular, it's the crown jewel in boxing, many would say. From comparisons from the 80s and the 70s, loads of people say, look, back in the day, everyone used to fight everybody, and now we're sometimes getting a bit of a stumbling block. Obviously, Turkey Al Sheikh has opened the door now for massive fights happening. But what is that key difference between the 70s, 80s, and the modern day era? Is it just social media? I mean, there's loads of stuff that's different, isn't there?
Oh, no, no. There was especially in the 70s. 70s was the best era in heavyweight boxing, right? Because you had Ali, Frazier, you had Ken Norton, you had other guys who were just outside it. They were good fighters like Oscar Bonavina, George Chuvalo, Jerry Quarry, Matt Foster. We had low. I go for a whole list, right? Um, So at that time in the 70s, it was more of a willingness and a keenness to go and fight each other.
Hmm.
Now people are like, oh, I'm not going to fight him because I've just gone up 2 places in the rankings and it will mess up my ranking. No, no, that wasn't the case then. It was more of a keen willingness to go and compete against each other. And hey, you could come up second best, but like there's going to be other fights down the line, and that's why you had guys who could come up second best in fights, but then they could beat the man that beat the man. It was one of those kind of things. Very, very weird, right? But it was a keenness and a willingness to go and compete because you were a boxer, right? You weren't trying to get social media likes. You weren't trying to know you were honing on your skills, and your skill talent was the fact that you could actually fight. Flip the page to today. Turkey Al Sheikh is kind of bringing it back to the 70s where the best guys went up against the best guys. And also because they're being financially rewarded as well, the best guys were keen and willing to fight the best guys. And not only that, now that like they own the Ring magazine as well, they can actually control the narrative of
Hmm.
the things that we talk about, right? So we say, what we want you to fight him, and right, and they can build that narrative, and that's the good thing about it. That's the only difference that I see there. But also in the 70s compared to now, in the 70s, you wouldn't be able to get someone like Anthony Joshua,
Mm.
right? You couldn't. Guys who were boxing then, that was their thing. They boxed. It wasn't like we fell in love with the sport late. That was a very, very rare thing, right? It was like, well, we were boxing from we were young. Or then if we weren't boxing from we were young, we went through, we had a different kind of teacher then.
Yeah.
It's just different. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, the world's evolved. I think Anthony Joshua is a phenomenon.